Hey, it's Mega, aka the Art Messiah, here to save you from your art sins. Welcome back to another art tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about how to draw noses from any angle, and we're going to be breaking it down so simple even a baby can understand. It's been a while since I've created a video, so thanks everyone for having some patience with me. While I was away, we reached 1,000 subscribers, which is awesome for a small YouTuber. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and viewing these videos, and hopefully they're helpful. Hopefully you're learning to draw everything you need to know to create your own comic. I do want to mention really quickly that I can use the community feature now that I'm at 1,000 subscribers, so stay tuned for some updates and when I'll be doing live streams and that kind of thing. But anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's lesson, which is how to draw the nose. So I'm going to be breaking this lesson up into two parts. The first part, we're going to be understanding the structure and the anatomy of the nose, and then we're going to be transferring that knowledge and using that knowledge to draw a nose from our imagination at any angle. So let's go ahead and get started with it. I already started making some doodles, and the first thing I want to do is just talk about the anatomy of the nose. Okay, so basically, let me create a new layer. Basically, there is a nose socket that, is pretty much like a hole in the face, and that's where your nose kind of protrudes out from. Okay, so that is the first thing to kind of know when you're drawing the nose, is that it is based on that, or that's how you kind of locate it. Okay, so let's go through the anatomy really quickly. I know it's a little bit boring, but again, if you just trace over an image and locate the important anatomy features, just do it once, right? And then put it off for a while, and then you can restudy the anatomy if you forget something. So up here we have what's called our upper cartilage, also kind of known as the bridge of your nose. Okay, if we come further down, we're gonna have the lower cartilage, and this is basically where the bulb of your nose is, and it kind of curves underneath and hits that bottom plane of the nose. On the sides of the nose, we'll call these the wings, and basically this piece of skin kind of just comes around and folds in and underneath, which creates the nostrils. And the final piece that you can't really see all too well in the front view is your septum, which is going to sit right down here, kind of underneath the nose a little bit. Okay, so those are our major components. And where the upper cartilage meets the bone, this is an important part, right? All this is bone surrounding, based on the skull. So where this meets, sometimes you will get a bump in that location, and that can be more or less visible depending on the person's nose that you are drawing. Okay, so you may get a bump here. Now let me go in and talk about the structure and building up this nose. Now, what I like to do is I like to think of the nose as a pyramid type shape. Now this looks like a kite, but it really is three-dimensional. If we rotate this pyramid around to the side, then we'll get a pyramid that kind of looks like this now. And now it's a little bit easier to see the 3D, and we can add shading to the bottom here to really help sell the idea that this is more three-dimensional. And even on this side as well. Now most simplified noses will actually take that concept, they will simplify it like this. They'll take this center line right here, and they'll just draw that center line, and then they'll go ahead and add shading on either side and then make a little dot for the nostril. Okay, so we're going to apply the same concept here. Okay, we're going to be breaking this nose up into a pyramid structure. So I make a dot right here at the edge of the wing, and right here the center of the nose. And when we connect all these dots at these important landmarks, we're going to notice that we get this pyramid shape that I just discussed. Now, of course, it doesn't encompass the entirety of the nose, but it is a simplification that we need when we are drawing a nose and we need to know how to locate things. Okay, and then I draw in a circle for the ball of the nose right here in the middle, and everything else can be built off of that. Now let's go ahead and look at the side view. Let's do the same thing. Let's again break this down into simple shapes. So one here, one at the edge of the nostril, one at the edge of this ball, and one down here. And let's go ahead and make that pyramid shape. Okay, again, you can see the nose kind of going beyond that pyramid shape, and that's okay. Okay, this structure is just to get an idea of where the nose is pointing and to get the general volume down. Okay, now that you have the general volume down, we can go ahead and turn down the opacity. And we can go ahead and draw over that. So again, I start off with drawing the ball of the nose. It's not big enough. Okay, draw the ball of the nose in. Then I go in and I add in this wing. Okay, notice how I'm not drawing, I'm not just going in drawing a dark nostril. The nostril is formed by the anatomy. So instead of thinking about the nostril, let's go ahead and think about the forms that are making that happen. Okay. And again, notice how we're just following that basic structure, but now we're adding just additional anatomy that we learned in that first step. So that's why it's important to do that first step. You do the anatomy once, and then you learn how to apply it in all these different scenarios. Okay, so we're going to follow that ball all the way down and coming in, and it's going to hook in, and this is going to go down towards the mouth. We don't need to detail that. And notice how this nostril kind of sits at the underneath here. And so let me go ahead and make this a little bit darker so you can see it again. But this is the bottom plane. That little bottom part of that triangle, that's the bottom plane. So now we're going to make that bottom plane a little bit more advanced. Basically, it follows that curvature of the ball, right? This is the ball. So instead of coming to a pointy tip, we're going to round out that bottom, right, following the contour line of that ball, and then we're going to follow the contours of this wing nostril. And now we have the bottom plane, and we can go ahead and add in some light shading to represent that this is the bottom plane. So this typically falls within shadow unless there's a light source underneath the nose. Okay, so I can go ahead and just erase some of these lines, these structure lines, but remember, it's always important to have those structure lines there first before you go in and erase anything, because it's telling you exactly how this nose should look. Okay, and this nose leads up into our eyebrow up here. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and just do like a little final rendering of it just to make it, pop a little bit more, make it look good. And we now define this nostril a little bit more, but again, now here's a septum down here, and there we have it, an entire nose. Okay, now typically when you're actually drawing for your comic and stuff like that, you're not going to see too much of this edge right here. You're obviously not going to see this where your bridge meets your bone, but it can be important to draw it in while you're just practicing. Okay. Alright, so now we got this from a side view. Now let's go ahead and take that concept, all these concepts, the anatomy and our structure, and let's see if we can apply this. And again, you're going to have to apply this over and over again in order to really understand the forms and the shapes that are happening, because the nose, I'm not going to lie, it's funny looking, and it doesn't look like much on its own, but it is really important to understand the structure, because a lot of artists don't. A lot of artists just skip over the nose, and you can get away with it because you can stylize the nose a lot, and that's fine, but it is really important to understand how to get to that stylization by understanding the form first. So let's go ahead and do a demo. I'm going to imagine that the face is looking upwards, or we're looking upwards at the face, I should say. And so here's a cross section for the face. And now I'm going to draw in that pyramid. First, I'm going to go ahead and drop in my center line, because that's going to help me figure out just the placement of things. So I drop a center line, my vertical center line, and then I drop in my horizontal center line. And notice when it's a 3/4 view that this line over here coming back is getting shortened. Okay, now this line's coming back to our center line, and something like this, and something like that, and this comes up to the top to meet at this point. Okay, so this is the same basic pyramid, but guess what, we have a slightly different angle now, and so now things start changing a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and draw in the ball of our nose. Okay, and drop down the opacity of my structure lines. Now I want to go in, and the thing that I like usually starting off with first is kind of just getting this center line looking decent. So I'll come in, I'll follow the center line, I'll go over this ball, and sometimes I'll protrude the nose outwards. I will wrap the center line around this ball and lead into this septum, which is at the bottom of the nose like this. And it's just this, you can feel it on your own. You know, it's this piece of skin down here that connects, and it creates this kind of shape like this. And our nostrils sit right down here. And remember, they're created by this wing creating this overlap and wrapping underneath and inside. Okay, so really try to understand the form while you're doing this. Don't just drop in the nostrils randomly. Think about how they fit within here. And this second nostril, you can barely see it, right? So that's what I'm saying, don't just drop in the nostril. Sometimes you can't even see the second nostril, or you barely see it. Okay? What some artists like to do is they like to take that top of that ball, and they like to follow it down, and they like to meet with that wing, and they'll create a line that looks something like this. So you might have seen some artists do something like that. Okay? But again, it's based off of form. Even if it's a stylization, it's still based off some kind of form. Okay. Now the final thing that I kind of want to do here is going to be adding in maybe a highlight, and the highlight's going to be the thing closest to you, the area that's closest to you on the nose. And don't forget to change this edge to a curved edge that's going to swoop down like this, right? It's going to create this kind of shape, and then you can add just a little bit of shading down here to show that this is the bottom edge. And we can go ahead and get rid of our structure, and there we go. We have a nose now that is at a different angle, but still relies on the same anatomy and form that I was discussing at the beginning of the video. So hopefully that helps, at least just getting started with noses. I'm going to be doing an actual live drawing demo where you guys can actually ask questions, and if anything still seems kind of confusing to you, or if I rushed over anything, then you can let me know then, and we can kind of pretty much just take it from there. And yeah, so I don't want to bog this video down any further, but that's pretty much how you draw the nose. Just try pulling up a whole bunch of different reference and doing this over and over again, and until you just get really comfortable with the forms of the nose. But I think it can be generally broken down into 3 things. One is creating this pyramid shape. The next is creating the ball of the nose. And then the next after that is just creating this underneath plane and putting the nostrils in down there. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for joining, and thank you guys for waiting for me to come back. So see you next time. Peace and deuces.